Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Yasmina Greco. I'm with O'Reilly Media, and I will be your host for today's webcast. Today we have Microsoft MVP Mike Halsey, and he's going to talk to you about Troubleshooting Windows 8 for Beginners. Mike is the author of several best-selling books to include Windows 8 Out of the Box for O'Reilly Media and Troubleshooting Windows 7 Inside and Out for Microsoft Press. We're really excited to have Mike with us today, folks, to present this webcast for you all. As we get things started, I'd like to go over a little housekeeping to help you get the most out of today's webcast. You'll want to open your group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we can interact with each other during the event and where you can post your questions for Mike. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you'd like to tweet from the Twitter widget today, you might need to give it permission to access your account. It will automatically append the event's hashtag to your tweet so you don't have to. And folks, today our hashtag is Halsey Mike, all one word. If you have any trouble during the event, please take a look at your help widget. If you continue to have trouble, just post it in the group chat and one of our staff will help you right away. For choppy audio or stalled visuals, try refreshing your window. And remember, the best thing you can do for a good audio stream is to close any apps that could interfere. People always ask, so we'd like you to know we are recording today's webcast and we'll have the archive ready usually within 48 hours. And folks, at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Mike for his presentation. Hello, Mike.
Hi, thanks, Yasmina. I'm Mike Halsey. I see that there's people here from all over the world again. I always have a look through and see who's here, so a special shout out today to David Sherman and Brian Boston. Brian, what are you doing lurking around? There's no advanced troubleshooting Windows 8 webcast next month, so what I've done is I've folded the two together into a slightly longer one today, where I'm going to start by looking at what you can do to mitigate problems, prevent them, how you can easily and quickly fix them, and then I'm going to dive a little bit more in depth into some of the ways that you can diagnose and repair more difficult and more complex problems in Windows 8. But first of all, who am I? As Yasmina pointed out, I'm the author of this little lot, including Windows 8 Out of the Box from O'Reilly, and Troubleshooting Windows 7 and Troubleshoot and Optimize Windows 8 Inside Out from Microsoft Press. Also, anyone who's going down the IT Pro route, the new Configuring Windows 8 exam ref book is out next month, and that's a new Microsoft qualification for people who are administering computer systems for small businesses, and you might be interested in that. So let's dive right in. And I want to start by looking at ways that Windows can repair itself. Now, the automated troubleshooters have been hanging around since Windows 7, and you access them from the Action Center, which is the little white flag down near the system tray, the irony of which has never been lost on me. And the automated troubleshooters cover a whole range of operating system, hardware, and software fixes. And what they do is they reset Windows hardware and software components to their default state. And this can fix some problems, especially things like networking problems, for instance, and they're really useful. You can also use XML scripts. You can find out how to do this online to write your own troubleshooters. So if you administer Windows 7 or Windows 8 within an organization, say, or you work for a company where, let's say, you make your own drivers, you can write your own troubleshooters that plug into the automated troubleshooters in Windows 7 and Windows 8. So I think we have a slight issue here that the text doesn't seem to be appearing on these slides. So if it isn't, which it should be, then I apologise, but we'll see if we can sort this out. There's a wide range of automated troubleshooters, as I say, and they're accessed through the Action Center, and you'll see a troubleshooting link in there. Now, one of the quickest ways, here we go, we've got the text appearing now. One of the quickest ways to get Windows working again if there's a problem is with System Restore, which you will probably know has been hanging around since the days of Windows XP, where it wasn't particularly popular because it was used by viruses and malware to hide, but no longer. Security in Windows 7 and Windows Vista and Windows 8 will not allow it. System Restore is genuinely useful. If you have, let's say for instance, you are doing a Windows update and a third-party driver, hardware driver, comes down and it causes problems, because when you think about it, all the billions and billions of combinations of hardware and software that need to be supported on computers, it's not possible to test every combination scenario. So anything that causes a problem can be fixed quickly and simply with System Restore. And System Restore creates a restore point every time you do something that makes changes to the operating system, such as installing software, installing or updating a driver, or installing a Windows update. These restore points are automatically kept and made. So System Restore is a very good way of being able to get Windows working again if you need to. And you can search for it at the start screen. Now, there's a little administration menu that's been added to Windows 8 as a quick and very convenient way of getting to administrative tools and other tools within the operating system. And this is actually a quicker way of getting to some things than has ever been seen in Windows before. And you access it by pressing the Windows key plus X on the desktop or the start screen. At any point in Windows 8, you just press WinX, and this menu will appear. And on this is just about everything you need to administer your Windows 8 system. You've got your programs and features links, you've got command prompts, you've got disk manager, you've got power options, mobility center. If you don't see mobility center, it's because you're not on a laptop or a tablet. There's all sorts of things in there, and it's a really, really good and quick and effective way of getting to some of these tools. So you may need that. Now, it's impossible to have a problem on a computer that doesn't have a user involved at some point. So let's have a look at some of the ways that we can troubleshoot users, because users are always the cause of the problem. If you have a computer that never has a user involved, apart from the fact that it will probably still be in the box, it will never go wrong. Certainly a computer that's never taken out of the box can't go wrong. So users are always involved in some way. And in Windows 8 Pro and Windows 8 Enterprise, you've got the Group Policy Editor. And you can use this to do useful and meaningful things. So, for example, for all or just specific user accounts on your computer, you can restrict the use of USB flash drives, the use of USB attached hard disks. You can restrict the burning of CDs, DVDs, or Blu-ray disks, or even the reading of these disks as well. And these are actually really good tools, not just for making sure that malware and viruses don't get onto your system, but also for making sure that your security, if it's within a business space or an organization, that your security is much harder to compromise, and it's much harder for people to take sensitive private information, especially when the fines for losing users' personal information these days are so strong. So let's have a look at device drivers. I mentioned these a little while ago. Now, as with System Restore, because it's actually part of the System Restore system, you can roll back a device driver if it causes a problem by finding it in the device manager, right-clicking on it, and selecting Roll Back Driver. And what this does is, if a driver has been updated, then Windows keeps the previous version of the driver so that that can be restored, overwriting the newer one if there is a problem. One of the great things about driver controlling Windows 8 is that it allows you to completely delete a hardware driver from your computer. This doesn't work with all drivers, and it's a bit haphazard, but it is a very useful feature, and you should look at it. When you go to uninstall a driver, you can see a little checkbox, as you'll see here, saying delete the files for that driver from your computer. And this prevents the accidental reinstallation of that driver. Let's say, for instance, it's a graphics driver, and you go to uninstall it, and you need to restart your PC, and as soon as you restart your PC, the driver gets automatically reinstalled before you can install the correct driver. So this prevents that from happening, and it makes sure that that wrong driver doesn't get reinstalled when you don't want it to be. Now, let's come on to the first of what could be a controversial subject, system image backup. Now, system image backup has been around in one way, shape or form from third parties or from Microsoft since the dawn of time. I think the dinosaurs used it at one point, obviously, though not very effectively, otherwise they'd still be here. And you can use this to create a bit-by-bit image of your entire Windows installation, everything, your installed software, your settings, your configuration, everything, absolutely everything, and it'll take a complete snapshot of your Windows installation. And you can restore from this in the event of a complete disaster, and you can get Windows working again very quickly, very simply. Restoring from a system image is the preferred method of recovery for IT pros, I think, primarily because it's so quick and simple and convenient. I say controversial because all the evidence is that it's being removed from the first major update to Windows 8, which will be out this autumn. Nothing definite on this yet, but it's possible that it's being removed. However, there is another option that I will talk about shortly. The system image backup you can find in the control panel in the Windows 7 file recovery option, which might be why the rumors coming around. And it's extremely good. I use it, well, I try not to use it all the time, but I do use it, and I've been using it for years. It's in every version of Windows 8, and it's well worth setting yourself a system image if you are at all technically minded. Oh, we seem to have slide out of order here. My apologies for that. Right, let's pop back to managing users for a minute. Now, when we're going back and talking about the group policy editor, here I mentioned earlier that you can do things like block external USB drives, and here you can see a screenshot of the group policy editor where you can do just that, and you have your categories down the left-hand side of the window in the group policy editor, and then on the right-hand side you have the actual options for that category, and each one may say enabled or disabled or not configured, and you can right-click on it and you can change its setting there. So that slide was slightly out of order. Right, now we're back where we need to be. Startup repair. So startup repair automatically runs if Windows 8, or indeed Windows 7, fails to start 3 times. And what it does is it uses the same sort of system as the automated troubleshooters, in that it tries to reset Windows startup components to their default state in the aim of getting it working again. Now, you can also run it manually from the boot menu, press F8 or Shift F8 at startup, depending on whether you've got a UEFI, as in F8, or a BIOS Shift F8 computer, bearing in mind that Windows Startup now offers you something like 200 milliseconds to push this button. So there are other ways of doing it. If the computer is actually working, then you'll find in the General tab in PC Settings, there is an option there, right down at the very bottom of the list, to do an advanced start, or you can restart the machine whilst holding down the Shift key, and that will restart into this menu. But if you can't get in, then you'll need to create a recovery drive, and I'll talk a little bit about this shortly. Oh no, I'll talk about it now. Create a recovery drive. If you click recovery in the control panel, then you will see an option there to create a recovery drive. You create this on USB, on a USB flash drive. It can be of any size at all. But if your computer if you have a larger size USB flash drive, say 32 gig or above, and your computer came with a system image backup that was provided with it when you bought the computer, you can also optionally copy that image over to the flash drive if there's enough space on the flash drive for it, which gives you another option of being able to restore the PC in the event of a complete disaster. There's also, for as long as it lasts, a system repair disk option in the Windows 7 file backup section from the control panel. And as a last resort, from your Windows 8 install DVD, or if you installed it from a USB flash drive, when you get to the main install button for the operating system, you'll see down in the bottom left of the screen a repair your computer link, and if you click that, then you can run startup repair from there as well. So let's have a little bit of a look in slightly more depth at startup repair. You'll see here, there's a screenshot here saying that Windows hasn't loaded properly, and do you want startup repair to run and try and fix the problem? I do have a video on how to use startup repair, one of many videos on how to use Windows 7, how to use Windows 8, and how to troubleshoot them up on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/HalseyMike. Indeed, I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well at HalseyMike. Everything's HalseyMike, even the hashtag for today. And there's all sorts of questions that you can fire at me. We've got a Q&A here. Remember to proceed your questions with Q, so Yasmina knows to put them through to me and for the Q&A at the end of this webcast. But you can also send me questions on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube on any of the videos, and I always respond to them, to as many as I can, as quickly as I can. So there's always that. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's an alternative to the system image backup. This is the new Refresh Your PC option. And this is different from a system image backup in that it's not a bit-by-bit copy. What it does is it creates a custom install image of Windows. So it includes it keeps your settings, and it keeps your user accounts, and it keeps your files. And you can create a custom installation image here. Again, I've got a video on that on YouTube to show you how to do that in just a couple of minutes. But what it won't do is restore all the settings for your software. So if you have an Outlook.com, if you have an Outlook email account set up, by the way, or if you have custom toolbars in the ribbon in Microsoft Office, or custom settings in Adobe or other software, it won't keep those. You'll have to put those settings in again once you've refreshed the PC. But refreshing the PC can be done from the startup menus. It can be done as well from PC settings from the General tab, and you'll see a Refresh Your PC without deleting your files option in there. So that's refresh. Now, one of the things that I get most mail about is the System File Checker, which is a fantastic little utility, which checks all of the files that make up the Windows operating system and compares them against the originals on your installation DVD, and you'll need a DVD for this. And if it finds any that have changed or that are missing, perhaps, then it will replace them on the computer's hard disk with the originals from the DVD. And it's a great way of repairing Windows, especially if it's on a file-by-file basis. It's a really good utility. It's run from the command prompt with administrator privileges. And remember, you can access this by pressing the Windows key plus X and selecting command prompt admin from the options that appear. And it's one simple command, sfc/scan now. And that's all you need to type. It's not going to be able to actually fix things unless you've got your installation DVD in your computer's drive, but it can fix a lot of problems, so it's very useful in that regard. Again, there's another video about that on my YouTube channel as well. The videos are growing daily at the moment, actually. There's 5 gone up this week, and there's another one being worked on that'll probably go live tomorrow. So again, there's a tutorial video on how to use the System File Checker on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/HalseyMike, and you can fire questions to me there, or again on Facebook and Twitter, as I have already mentioned. Now, one of the common thing that goes wrong with Windows is when you have a problem with Internet Explorer. Now, Internet Explorer can't be reinstalled because it's part of Windows. You can't really download it unless there's a new version. But the new version of Internet Explorer is going to be built into the next major update of Windows 8, so there's not really any separate installer. And if you download the installer for Windows 7, it won't install. So how do you fix problems with Internet Explorer? The old-fashioned way of fixing problems with Internet Explorer is to install Google Chrome, but you don't always want to do this. But if you go into the Internet options, which you can access by pressing the little cog icon in the top right of an Internet Explorer window, or if Internet Explorer won't start, you can access Internet options from the control panel. And click on the Advanced tab along the top of the window. You'll see a Reset button down in the bottom right. And what this does is it resets Internet Explorer settings to their default. It doesn't lose your internet favorites, but it resets everything else. And it's a really good way of being able to get Internet Explorer working again. And once more, there is a tutorial video on how to do this on YouTube. Now, one of the best features, one of the best advances in Windows 8 is the new Task Manager. Now, the new Task Manager can provide you with so much useful information when you're troubleshooting and diagnosing a problem. Not only is the main view heat mapped so that you can see proportionally how much of your computer's resources, your memory, your disk space, your networking is being used by individual programs or processes or services. But Windows will tell you whether or not these are unhealthy. You don't need to guess anymore. It'll tell you in this heat-mapped way. But in the under the Performance tab, you've now got live graphs of showing you information as it happens about your processor, your memory, your disks, your networking, and you can pop these out by right-clicking on them and choosing just to have a graph view. And this, I really do encourage you to have a play with this because it's so flexible. You can have little mini graphs, or you can have a really big one, and you see from your processor graph, you can have just showing the overall processor or performance, or you can have it showing each individual core in your processor, and it's just so flexible. So please go to the Performance tab in the Task Manager and just right-click on things and see where it takes you, because it's really, really flexible and really useful for just being able to sit something. Let's say you think you're having trouble with your networking. Well, you just get this graph of your Ethernet and or your Wi-Fi, and you just stick it in a corner of your screen. You just watch it whilst you try and recreate the steps that caused the problem in the first place. Really, really useful. Another really useful feature is the Safe Boot Diagnostic mode. Now, you'll probably be familiar with Safe Mode. And Safe Mode is really, really limited. It doesn't load the display drivers. It doesn't, unless you specifically tell it to, load the networking drivers. It doesn't load anything, really. Safe Boot Diagnostic mode does. What it does is it loads all the stuff you wanted to load in order to be able to have Windows the way it is, the way you've set it up in order to be able to diagnose problems. But it doesn't load all the flotsam and jetsam on the top of that, all your startup software. And you access this from within the msconfig panel. Search for msconfig at the start screen, and you'll see the options in there. You'll see a boot tab in there, but it's on the main tab. On the first tab here, you'll see the main options for having this selected diagnostic startup. So you can set this here, and you need to remember that once you're finished with this Safe Boot Diagnostic mode, you need to go back into msconfig and turn it off. It's a little checkbox, so you'll need to put it back to a standard boot. But if Safe Mode doesn't do enough for you, Safe Mode, for instance, won't allow you to work on certain administrative features within the operating system, which can be quite limiting and quite frustrating when you're troubleshooting and dealing with a problem. Safe Boot Diagnostic mode will, so the operating system is not hamstrung or hampered in any way, and you can do what you need whilst knowing that everything's running in a minimal way. Now, the problem steps recorder. This is another really, really useful feature. Again, there's a video online. You can access the problem steps recorder by searching for PSR at the start screen. And what this does is it captures, every time you click something on your computer, on the start screen or on the desktop or wherever, or in an app, or every time something changes, it takes a screenshot. And it annotates this screenshot with live information in English about what was going on at the time. And then it puts all this information together in a big HTML file with lots of additional information, technical information at the end, additional stuff. And it annotates every screenshot with a little green line around what it was you were clicking on at the time. What this enables you to do is to record or have somebody else record a problem on a computer that can then be emailed to someone else, so that other person can see, they were doing this at the time the problem occurred. And they're looking in this document at live information, technical information, but again in simple language of what was occurring and what was being clicked and what was changing. And it's such a useful way of being able to diagnose problems, especially when you have to get help and support from somebody over the telephone and they can't see your screen. You have to describe it to them. This way you can actually show them what's going on. So now let's start looking at some of the more technical ways that we can diagnose and fix problems. And the event viewer seems like an obvious place to start. Now, the event viewer stores details on everything, caveat there, that happens in Windows 8. You can double click any event. Sorry, the text is not appearing properly here. To see more information about it, and in the lower central panel you can find information such as the error code and a plain language description of the error. And the information in the event viewer can then be exported to a file. You've got a file menu there with an export option in the top left. Now, I say it stores details on everything. Obviously, there are some blue screen events where it will be unable to store its data, but there's almost nothing that happens in Windows that the event viewer doesn't keep information about. So you can sort the events by their type, be they warnings, be information, be they critical errors, and you can sort these by time and date, and you can see exactly what was happening at the time. You can get information on what the error was, on what the error code is, and this information can then be looked up online. You'll typically get an error code, something along the lines of 0x00, and then a long string of numbers. And you can use this to look up the error online and get more detailed information about it. Better, you can attach tasks to events in the event viewer. And what this enables you to do is, well, various things. You can, let's say, for example, a remote worker is having a problem with the printer, and periodically they just find that they can't print. And you go into the event viewer and you see that the print driver is crashing. So you want to, what's causing it? What's going on at the time? So you can attach a task. So you find the event in the event viewer, and then in the options pane on the right-hand side of the event viewer, you can attach a task to it, and you can get it to send an email. You can get it to pop up an alert on the screen telling the user stop what you're doing and phone support. You can get it to run a program, any program, a DOS script. You can get it to run a PowerShell script. You can get it to run another program. You can get it to run the problem steps recorder, for instance. Or you can get it to run Wevtutil, the imaginatively named Wevtutil. This is a command line tool which can retrieve information from the event viewer, and it can save it as a file, and that can then be emailed off automatically by attaching a task to an event. And you'll see a bit.ly link there for much more information on how to use Wevtutil. I know, I haven't got a video on that. No, there's a bit.ly link. And you can find much more information on how you can use that to retrieve information automatically from the event viewer. So what else is there? There's performance information and tools. There's a lot of information you can get from your computer. There's a lot of tools in here, and I'm going to look at some of them, certainly the more useful ones now. And the first of these is the performance monitor. Now, this gives live information in the form of graphs and other detailed metrics about what's happening in your computer at that precise moment. Now, you might say, well, the task manager does this now, but what the performance manager does is it's able, performance monitor can give you live information about everything. It can break the networking down into 20 different networking protocols and services, and it can show live information about absolutely anything going on with your software or your hardware or the operating system at that time. There's a little plus and cross buttons to add or remove live metrics from the performance monitor, and it's an absolutely fantastic tool for being able to see precisely what's going on at any one time. So I can recommend that. Then you've got the resource monitor. The resource monitor again gives you live graphs on what's going on, this time for just the processor, the memory, the hard disk, and the networking. But it's got collapsible panels with huge volumes of information of what's going on. I mean, literally enormous stacks of information on every program, every service, everything that's going on in memory, everything that's going onto the hard disk, and how fast it's writing, and whether it's writing at all, and all the different programs that are communicating over the network or over the internet, and how well they're doing, and how much data they're chucking backwards and forwards. Huge volumes of information in the resource monitor as well. Really, really useful for finding out what's going on. Again, all the information is live, so you can see there and then exactly what's happening. If there's a bottleneck, if there's a problem, then you can just check straight away and immediately, and it's a good way of fixing the problem. or at least finding out what it is. Then there's system information. System information provides detailed technical information about the operating system, about your hardware, about your drivers, about your installed software, and this can be exported to a file, and this can be emailed to people. There's also third-party software you can get, such as SIS Sandra, performs a similar task, and expands on the features in this, but this is part of Windows. It's free, and it's very incredibly detailed information. Then, lastly, in that bit, we've got the System Health Report. And the System Health Report, it monitors Windows for a period of 60 seconds. And it builds up a report in collapsible panels detailing absolutely everything about the computer at that time. Everything about your hardware, everything about your drivers, everything about your software and what was running, what was using memory, what was using the hard disk, what was using the network, how effective things were, and that information is available as a file then that can be emailed to a support person or can be collected by somebody else and emailed to yourself, and it's a huge wealth of technical information on what was happening on the computer at that particular time. Next up is the unhappy emoticon of death, as I like to call it. The traditional blue screen of death is gone, and alas, is gone with it a wealth of technical information to be replaced just by one line now containing either just a plain text description of the error or that and an error code, that OX000 number. Now, commonly, you will find that on a computer you have a blue screen and the PC restarts before you can read it, so you don't know what's going on. What you can do in Windows is you go into the Startup menu, Shift F8 or F8, or go in, I guess, again from the General tabbing, PC Settings, and at the bottom you'll see the Advanced Startup, and you can disable automatic restart on system failure. And you need to go right through the Startup menus here, and it's in the Advanced Startup options. Go through all the troubleshooting stuff. You'll see Advanced Startup options, and it's in there, disable automatic restart on system failure, and that stops the computer on a blue unhappy emoticon of death, so that you can read it and you can see what the error is, especially if this is an error that's not appearing in the event viewer or if you can't get to the event viewer. Now, one of the most common things in my mailbag is a corrupt boot system in Windows, and for some reason that I'm completely unable to fathom, I'm getting more and more of these about Windows 8. So one of the things that you can do quite quickly is fix the repair the boot system in Windows 8. I've got a video on how to do this up on YouTube. It's really quite straightforward. You'll need your you can do it from Windows Startup Repair. Select the command prompt there from the troubleshooting options and use this bootrec command with these following switches. And it might look complicated, but it really isn't. Go and have a look at the video. It'll show you how to do it, and we'll keep an eye out on other videos as well, because there's always new things coming along. But yes, it's quite simple to repair the boot files and rebuild them completely as well. Now, we've done that. Microsoft Sysinternals. Sysinternals is a collection of tools and utilities that were originally written by someone who was a third party, who Microsoft loved the tools and they brought them in-house, and now they keep them updated themselves. And you can download them free from Microsoft TechNet, from the address you see on your screen, from live.sysinternals.com. And there are loads of little utilities that do all manner of things with the operating system. Literally just about everything you can think of, for sorting out networking or driver issues or software issues, and Sysinternals is a great series of tools. So again, keep an eye on YouTube, youtube.com Halsey Mike. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Halsey Mike. And if you want to follow on Facebook or Twitter, I'm going to be having a competition soon to give away a copy of Windows 8 in the next few weeks. So sign up, click that like button, or follow me on Twitter, and we'll see. We'll see about giving one of you a copy of Windows 8. I'm thoroughly looking forward to that. But now, time for your questions. Time for a Q&A. So let's have a look and see what we've got. Right. So what do we got? We've got Bill. How do you start the resource monitor and the performance monitor? The easiest way to do it is press the Windows key plus X, and from there open the control panel, and in the control panel you'll see the administrative tools, and you will find them in there. Dave Sherman. How are you, Dave? Right. Install DVD with the service pack not available. Your project that did this over the years. I'm not sure what you mean with your question, David. I've got to say, can you send me a message and email me, and I'll look into it. So I'm not quite sure what you mean. Apologies for that. Annie, got Windows 8 Pro, but when you search for GP Edit from the right now, you need to search for gpedit.msc. I think I may have omitted that from the slide. gpedit.msc is what you need to search for to launch the group policy editor. So that's how you get into the group policy editor in Windows 8 Pro and Windows 8 Enterprise. Dave again. User management requires administrator to delete the app date folder. You'll find that Windows protects itself in interesting and unusual ways from even administrators on a computer, and this could be one of those cases. You'll find, for instance, that anything to do with the new Windows 8 apps, it won't even let you in, even if you're the administrator on the computer. You will not get into the folder where the apps are in. This is a security feature, and you could be butting up against one of these security features, and if it won't let you in, you're not getting in. It's quite as simple as that, but it's just there to prevent malware and tampering. Patrick Sharkey, IE10 resetting. Does this apply to both versions of IE10, start screen and desktop, or are they one set of settings common to both? Do you know, that's a really good question, and it takes me back to what I said a moment ago about not being able to get into the app folder. I genuinely can't tell you that. It's one of those questions I have asked and I haven't received an answer to it yet. As far as I can tell, yes, it does apply to both the desktop version of Internet Explorer and the Internet Explorer app, so far as I can tell. But I've never had confirmation of this. So it's an interesting question, and one of these days I will get an answer to it. System file checker again, Patrick. Can you create an installation DVD with service packs if you downloaded Windows 8 as an upgrade? Now, in order to create the installation DVD for Windows 8, you will need an ISO. So if you downloaded Windows 8, then it would have given you an ISO file, or at least given you the option to create an ISO file. Now, with service packs, obviously we haven't got any yet, but we're going to have service packs come this autumn. We're going to have the first major update. There are always tools around that allow you to slipstream a service pack into an installation ISO. They're worth looking for. Obviously, the ones for Windows 8 aren't available yet because it's going to be nearer the time. It's going to be nearer the autumn before these tools can be updated to make them work properly and effectively with Windows 8, but they do exist. And if you delete a user under user management, why doesn't Windows 8 delete all the files in that user folder, like parts of the app data folder? Your guess, frankly, is as good as mine. It should. Certainly anything critical or private for that user should definitely be removed. If there's anything that's not removed, the app data folder will include information for third-party software. So you may find that that when you delete a user account, Windows just doesn't know that that stuff is there or isn't programmed appropriately to remove all of it. So you may find that that is the case there. So, cool, we got a lot of questions. Bill, how do you start the resource monitor and... oh no, that's the same questions I'm looking at. Do we have any more questions that I can see? Because I know Yasmina's quite busy. No.
We do have, let me see here, a couple questions that just came in. One from Robert, who says, I want to install Windows 8 onto a different drive and leave my existing XP unchanged. I have a $39 upgrade special disk and have no licensing issues with having both XP and Windows 8 active. Is this correct?
Yeah, that shouldn't be. You shouldn't have a problem at all with that. You should just be able to install them, and that should be absolutely fine. In a dual boot situation, always make sure the older operating system is installed first. But as you've already got XP on there, do be aware that from April next year, all support for Windows XP ends, and this means no security patches, no service patches, no bug fixes, no updates, no nothing. And if we know that all security updates for Windows XP are ending next year, you can be damn sure the criminals do. And we can also be sure that they know about a few vulnerabilities that they've been sitting on and they haven't told the world about yet. So be very careful with that. It might be a better idea, especially if you've got Windows 8 Pro, to run Windows XP in Hyper-V instead in a virtual machine, because then you can at least sandbox it and keep it away from the internet.
Super. Another question here looks like from John. He asks, is there a point at which you should just give up troubleshooting and just wipe and reinstall Windows, say in case of an intractable virus infection? Are there any guidelines for knowing when you've reached that point?
If you ask any IT pro, anyone who works in the IT department in a company, what that point is, then certainly the point for reinstalling from a system image, which is nice and quick anyway, then it's after the first half an hour. And in Troubleshoot and Optimize Windows 8, I've actually got one of the very first chapters is fixing Windows 8 in 30 minutes or less, which is one of the things that IT pros have asked me the most to put in there. When it comes to completely reinstalling the operating system and reinstalling all of your software and redoing all of your settings, which is a pain, then I would make that cut-off point sort of Friday afternoon, so you've at least got the weekend to do it, because it's not going to be a short job.
Great, thank you. And I know you get this question a lot on your events. Nancy would like to know, is there a way to disable the charms feature?
Only by installing third-party software such as Start8 from Stardock, and there are alternatives out there. But I will say I use the desktop exclusively for work. I use apps and the start screen when I'm not at work, because I want to be able to separate the two. I work from home, I'm self-employed, and I want a good way to separate the two. And when I'm working on the desktop, I almost never see the start screen. I see it when I first start the computer, when I press the desktop button, and I do not see it after that. It's really, really easy to stay working on the desktop, so don't give up on it. I wouldn't worry too much about the charms. I never see them myself.
Okay, and it looks like we have one final question here from Richard. Can you now boot Windows 8 from an external drive? So you could do a full uncompressed backup to an external drive and boot from it, like using Super Duper on the Mac.
There's one way to do this that I know of, and this is a workaround to create a Windows to Go drive. And Windows to Go is, for those of you who don't know, it's a way of transporting your existing Windows 8 Enterprise installation onto a USB pen drive, USB flash drive that can then be booted on any computer that can boot from USB, and then you've got your copy of Windows 8 with all of your software. There is a workaround. There's a link up on my Facebook page, but I'll put it up again tonight for an article that's been written by a colleague of mine of how to do this. I have tested it. It works. It's really good, but you will need a separate license for another copy of Windows, because as a workaround, you have to do a clean installation of Windows 8 onto the pen drive, but it does genuinely work.
Great. I'm not seeing any additional questions. So, Mike, with that, we're going to say a very, very big thank you to you, sir, for presenting yet another outstanding webcast and for sharing all your knowledge and expertise with us.
Thank you.
Folks that attended, thank you so much for attending our event today, and we hope you benefited from it. We'd like to let you all know we did push out some codes to you all in your group chat, so if you didn't open that group chat, please open it. Really valuable information there to save you some money on Mike's books, his Windows 8 book and his Windows 7 books, because I still see some chat from folks not sure yet about going to Windows 8, so you might need help with that Windows 7 then. So we do have.
Okay, go and have a look at my videos on YouTube. Have a look at the using the Windows 8 start screen video. That might help sway things for you, because it really is quite simple to use.
And with that, we did push out a link to Mike's website, The Long Climb. So go there. You'll see how to access those videos and other ways to contact him as well. Again, we thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. This will conclude our webcast today. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.